I would just like to begin by thanking you all once again for joining me. I am your host, Ina Love. Um, for anyone new joining the segment today, welcome. And as you know, today's topic is the power of love. Just as a brief recap, I would like to just kind of reiterate a little bit about what we talked about in the first two segments. The first segment obviously was all about the purpose of the Love Talks and why I'm doing this, which I'm just sharing what I learned during my own personal healing journey a few years ago. I was seeking understanding and answers about life and happiness, the things that we're all seeking. So I spent a few years of my life searching that information, and I'm sharing what I've learned along the way in hopes that it will help you. And I'm trying to do my part and do what I can to make a difference in the world. Our second segment, we were diving into the subject of what is the purpose of life and why are we here? And I shared my insights on that being threefold. One, we are here for God, to develop a relationship with God, the source of all that is. Secondly, to grow in love, learning to love ourselves and one another. And thirdly, we are here to heal, to learn, and to grow, to heal from our experiences, to learn through the perfect plan that life has for all of us, and to grow into who we came here in this lifetime to be, to align with our purpose and fulfill that purpose. So our topic today, we'll move into that, is actually on the power of love, which is my absolute favorite subject of all time. So I'm really excited that we're actually moving into talking about love, which is really the purpose of this segment of this Love Talk program. And, the theme of love will be woven into every Love Talk segment. I want to clarify one little thing before we get started. Many of you may be thinking that we're going to be talking about love in relationships, but actually before we get to that, we need to develop and lay out a foundation, like a true understanding of love. And I think one of the most powerful ways that we learn through one another is through our experiences. I've said many times, as I often I've shared this on my Facebook post, and if you know me well, you may have heard me say this many times, that God is love. And I actually want to really lay out a solid foundation to demonstrate that for you, again, through story and experiences that I've actually had. So today, I'm going to actually share two stories with you that are absolute true stories. Like, I really could not make this up. One of them demonstrates very powerfully, very clearly, the power of God and how God has moved in my life. And the second story demonstrating very clearly the power of love. And love is a very powerful force. And the story that I'm going to share with you is absolutely true. Like I said, I couldn't possibly make this up, and nor could I have ever dreamed that this could have been possible. But I know that love made it possible. So we'll get started with the power of God. So in 2019, last year, I traveled to Italy for my birthday. I was in a little town called Pietrasanta, Italy, which I had never even heard of this town. I went on a trip for my birthday with my very dear friend, Alex Sestoke, who lives in Colombia. Hello, Alex, if you're joining us today. Alex was going on business, and he invited me to join him for my birthday. So I went. The famous artist, painter, sculptor, Michelangelo actually lived in this town 500 years ago. I didn't know that when I got there, but I, just found that to be very intriguing. So Alex was there working, and I'm just, roaming the town and having, enjoying the sights and, just the normal things you do on vacation. But there was all this talk of the town because it's a little town. Everyone was talking about an event that was happening on July 20th, which just happened to be my birthday. A sculptor in the town was unveiling a sculpture that he had been working on. And I kept hearing about this event. Everyone was like, are you going to the unveiling? Are you going to the unveiling? And I thought, wow, it's on my birthday and I'm here. Like, I love art, yes. So we go to the event for the unveiling. There was a little pre-event before the actual unveiling. And they were basically telling the backstory of how the sculpture came to be. There is a holy shrine in India that is being built for a saint who lived over 100 years ago. And the people who are building this shrine for their saint, they literally scoured the globe looking for the best sculptor in the world to sculpt their holy saint. So again, I happened to be in this town on the day they're unveiling the sculpture. So they again are telling the whole story about, they found this sculptor and it's for the shrine in India. After the pre-event, we had to walk 2 blocks to the gallery of the artist who actually created the sculpture to see the actual sculpture. So I get there and I got there late because I decided to run back to the hotel to change shoes. I didn't realize we had to walk 2 blocks. So by the time I got there, most of the people had already come and gone. So I walk in and there was like a carpeted runway leading up to the sculpture. And as I'm approaching this sculpture, I was just so taken by it. Like, it was so lifelike, so realistic. It's actually larger than life, but it was so realistic. And as I approached the sculpture, like, I just looked at it. I felt as if I knew this man, like just as if in looking at this sculpture, I knew him. And it actually moved me to tears. Like, I don't know, I stood there and I just like shed a few tears. I was very moved by it. And there were a few women standing beside me, and he was obviously their holy saint, and they were bowing to him and in deep devotion, and it was beautiful. So I stayed a little while, and I met the sculptor, and then I left and went on my way. The next day, I'm wandering through this little town, looking for a place to eat, and a gentleman approaches me, and he said, he came up and introduced himself and he said, hello, my name is Robin. He said, I saw you at the unveiling yesterday. And I said, oh yes, I was there. Very nice to meet you. And he said that, I noticed that you were very moved by the sculpture. And I said, yes, I was. Like, it touched me. Like, it was just beautiful. It moved me to tears. So, basically he was just saying hello because he had seen me the day before and he went on his way. So the very next morning, I wake up, I go downstairs in my hotel for breakfast, and this same gentleman is there again. And, he says, hello again. And I'm like, wow, we meet again. So this time he says to me, I feel as if we keep meeting for a reason. And I say, yes, I was thinking the same. So he suggested that we exchange contact information. Like, it's no coincidence that, I kept seeing this person over and over and over again. So we exchange information. He goes on his way. I didn't see him again. My friend Alex and I, we finished our trip. We went after Pietrasanta. We went on to Rome and visited the Vatican. We saw the Leaning Tower of Pisa, like had this amazing, wonderful trip. I come back to LA. Alex goes back to his home in Colombia. And maybe 2 weeks later, I get a text message from the gentleman that I met in the little town. And he says, "Hello, Ina, this is Robin. We met in Puerto Santa." And "Hello, Robin." I mean, I'm sorry. When I tell stories, I love to tell details, but I'm going to get through this. So anyway, long story short, he asked, "What do I do?" And I shared with him that I'm a poet and I live in Los Angeles, and that a writer and a poet, and I've published a book of poetry. And he said, "Oh, that's very interesting." He said, "I just can't get out of my mind how you reacted when you saw the sculpture." Well, it turns out Robin, this man that I kept seeing in the town, he is actually the person who is overseeing this project in India. So he said, "Ina, is it possible that you would share some of your poetry with me? I'd like to take a look at some of your poetry." I said, "Absolutely." So I sent him a few poems. A few days later, he wrote back to me and he said, "I love your work." He said, "I know this may seem like a little odd request." He said, "But you were so moved when you saw the sculpture of our holy saint." He said, "Do you think you could write a poem about that experience?" The experience of seeing the sculpture and how you felt, and like, could you put that into a poem? Your experience. And I thought, wow, well, that's a little unusual. I'd never written or had never been commissioned to write a poem before. Well, sort of, I have, but this was actually something different. And I just said to him, like, "I'm willing to try." So I prayed about it and I prayed about it. And about 2 weeks after that conversation with him, I woke up one morning and the poem was on my heart. I wrote it, I sent it to Robin. He loved it. He absolutely loved it. And I didn't know this was all happening, but the grandson of this holy saint is actually still living. The holy saint lived, like I said, over 100 years ago in in India, but his grandson is still living. So the poem that I wrote about the experience when I saw the sculpture, he shared it with the grandson, which they call him the Godfather. He shared the poem. The Godfather loved the poem. At this point, he called me. He said, "Ina, I want to share something with you." He said, I shared your poem with the Godfather. He absolutely loved it. And we have a proposition for you." And I thought, okay, what is it? Well, he said to me that they have some sacred documents about their holy saint, documents that are, very old, like 100-year-old documents that he wanted to share with me. These documents were all information about their holy saint. He said, "We have been looking for a poet and we think you're the one. We want someone to take the information in these documents and form it into a poem." And I thought, wow, like, I was so honored that they were giving me this opportunity. Like, this is their holy saint, the person that, they adore him, like they live in devotion to him. So it was a big deal. And of course, I prayed about it. I'm like, "Oh, Lord, please put these words on my heart. Like, let me create this perfect poem." Well, I wrote the poem. I read the documents, read them, and I wrote the poem and I sent it back to Robin, and they loved it. And the poem that I wrote from the information in the sacred documents is going to be carved in stone and will be on permanent display at this holy shrine in India. So that is the essence of the story that I wanted to share with you about the power of God. But I want to reiterate a few things just to really drive this point home. Okay, I had no idea about the unveiling of this sculpture when I just happened to go to Puerto Santa, this town that I had never heard of. I didn't know this man, Robin. I'd never seen him. I had never heard of their holy saint. I have been to India like 10 years ago. But I had no idea of this project that they were working on. Like, there was absolutely something divine happening in the fact that this man and I kept finding ourselves in the same place, and we both recognized it, shared information. He had no idea that I was a poet. I didn't tell him that the day, he spoke to me in the town, or the next morning at breakfast. Like, he had no idea. So that was all divinely orchestrated and absolutely meant to be. So I'm so honored that someday, when this holy shrine is actually open, and I've seen the renderings of this shrine, it is absolutely beautiful. It's like a meditation garden, like just a beautiful place where you can stroll through, and there's like this massive archway entrance into the park. And there'll be this massive platform that the sculpture will rest there. And all of his devotees, they will go there and, honor him and all of those things. And as I said, the poem that I wrote for this holy saint will be on permanent display there. So I'm so honored. I'm so deeply honored for that. And I absolutely know that was a divine plan. I could not have orchestrated or planned any of that. I mean, like, I truly just want you guys to see, like, there's no question that God was moving in that. Like, that was absolutely meant to be. So again, that is my story on the power of God. Now I want to share a story on the power of love, because I want you to be able to draw the correlation between the two and see the parallel. When we say that God is love, you can see how that power, which is an energy, love is an absolutely a powerful energy that moved in both of these experiences, which made both of these things happen. So anyone who truly knows me knows that I absolutely adore the artist Prince. Like, I don't know why. I have just always adored him. In 2016, when Prince made his transition, actually April 21st, 2016, I was in Brussels, Belgium. I had been invited to Brussels to share poetry at a peace rally. This was literally 2 weeks after the Brussels terrorist attacks. So we went there for this amazing event, and I was there with a group of people. I actually arrived on April 21st, the day that Prince was found deceased at Paisley Park. And I was in my hotel room, just, trying to rest from the long trip. And my phone kept dinging and dinging and dinging. And I was like laying in bed thinking, darn, first of all, I was like, oh, I'm trying to rest. I forgot to turn off my phone, and my phone just kept dinging and dinging. And then it got to the point that I was sort of afraid to look at my phone. Like, it got to that point where you think something must be going on, because, your phone is just like blowing up. So I go and look at my phone, and I had like literally several text messages, like everyone that knows me. And I mean, this happened over a course of time, but it was like everyone who knows me was like sending me messages. Ina, have you heard? Ina, are you okay? Ina, oh my God, like so many messages. And, Prince was found deceased at Paisley Park. And I'm reading all these messages, and I'm just like thinking, no, like, this cannot be. This is no way. So I turned on the television, and of course the news reports are saying, Prince was found at Paisley Park. And I just couldn't believe it. So we have our amazing peace rally in Brussels. I come back to LA, and just to keep the timeline in order here. So Prince transitioned on April 21st. I think I spent 5 days in Brussels. I come back to LA. And, again, like, I'm just like in total disbelief that Prince is gone. And I'm like, my dream that I've had for 30 years of meeting him, it was as if like, that's not going to happen. I just couldn't believe it. So I, you know, as a writer, I thought, okay, what can I do to honor him in some way? So I wrote a tribute to Prince. I wrote a poem in his honor. Well, it's beautiful and I love the poem, but that didn't quite process my feelings that I was, you know, trying to process through this experience. So I started making a mosaic. And every day for 2 weeks, I worked on like bead by bead by bead. I made this beautiful mosaic, which I had never done before. But I made a mosaic of his symbol, which he calls the love symbol. And as I'm working on this mosaic, it became sort of like a meditation for me. Like I would just like go deep into this meditation. It was really a powerful experience but I put a lot of time into this. So as I'm working on this mosaic, you know, I'm just thinking about so many things. And I said, you know, I need to do something to honor Prince. So I got an idea to have a tribute to Prince party. I hired an event planner and we planned this amazing event. Like some of you watching today may have actually attended my tribute to Prince party, but they literally turned my house purple. The house was lit in purple lights. I had purple carpet coming up the front stairs, like purple flowers everywhere. Of course, Prince music. We had a beautiful buffet, and I found an artist during the time that I was planning the party. I randomly met a man who also adored Prince, and he was painting murals of him. So he came to my party and painted a live portrait of him. Like it was this amazing, amazing event. So on the night of the party, the event planner, I was in the kitchen with him, and he said, just so haphazardly and randomly, he says, Ina, how long have you known Prince? And of course, he assumed that I knew him because, you know, I've had planned this elaborate party. And I kind of laughed and I said, well, actually, I've never met him before. And he was like stunned. He said, are you serious? I'm like, no, literally, I've never met him before. Like, I just admire him so much. I've seen him in concert, like maybe a dozen times, but I've never met him. I always dreamed of meeting him. So he said, Ina, you did all of this for a man you've never met? And I said, yes, I did. Like, I adore him. I can't explain it. I've just always adored this man. Then he says, Ina, you have to go to his memorial. And mind you, okay, Prince transitioned on April 21st. The memorial was May 7th. No. My party was May 7th. The memorial was June 7th. So he says, you have to go to Prince's memorial service. Oh no, I'm so sorry, you guys. Prince's birthday is June 7th. I'm looking at this is the actual program. It turns out when he was saying to me, Ina, you have to go to his memorial. And I said, well, I would love to go, but how in the world am I going to make that happen? He was planning the memorial service. So just by coincidence, the man that I hired to plan my tribute to Prince party was planning his private memorial service in Beverly Hills. And he got me on the invitation, on the guest list. So I actually attended Prince's private memorial service, and I was there with like his siblings and his band and his closest friends, his former wives. Like there were maybe 100 people there, like a very private, intimate event. And I was there, and it was so right that I be there, like after all the years that I have loved this man. And, you know, as I said, this is the actual program. So the memorial service was on April 21st. I said June 7th, that was the day of his birth. So he passed away on May 7th. God, the days, forgive me, guys. He passed away on April 21st. Why am I having trouble with these dates? Yes, he passed away on April 21st. I was still in Brussels. I came back, had a party on May 7th, and then the memorial service was held. And actually, I see what's happening. Neither of those are the correct dates, but it was just a few days after my party. But so forgive me for all the confusion with the dates. But the point is, I never in a million years would have dreamed of going to Prince's private memorial service. Like, what are the chances that I plan a party for him, and the same event planner was planning his memorial service, and I was there. And as I said, it was only right that I be there, after all the years that I've held so much love in my heart for this man that I never even met. Like, honestly, I don't even know why I adore Prince so much. I think maybe I knew him in a past lifetime or something. Like, I can't even explain it. But clearly there was, a force, a power, an energy, a presence, like something moving that made all of that perfectly aligned, and the perfect synchronicity for that to happen. I couldn't have planned that. I could have never dreamed of that. And the same is true with that amazing thing that happened or is happening in India, where my poem is going to be carved in stone and on permanent display at a holy shrine. I never could have planned for that to happen. So again, I want you guys to just see, I believe that these type of things happen in my life because I have lived my life always believing in love, in true devotion to God and to love, which I believe are absolutely one and the same. Like, God is the creator of all things, and all things happen, by God's perfect design. So again, one being my love for Prince made that possible, and the other being, my devotion to God created that amazing experience in India. So again, I'm trying to draw a parallel here because I really want you guys to understand that when I'm sharing information about love, like, this is absolutely true. Like, I know that my beliefs and my practice and, the way that I live my life, with my heart open and believing in God and, in absolute faith and a real connection to source, is what opens the doors and makes these type of things happen, to where we begin to align with our purpose to, have these sort of miracle type of experiences to happen. So again, I share that because as we go forward, I really want to lay a foundation that you see the information that I'm sharing. Like, it's not just words. I put this into practice in my life, and it actually opens doors and makes things happen. So, and as we really develop that relationship with God and healing and opening our heart, and all of these things, experiences start to happen for us, like, truly, it drives you to even, deeper develop that relationship. I'm not saying by any means that I have mastered anything. Believe me, love is an infinite source. And I'm seeing these beautiful, powerful experiences that are happening in my life. But, truly the power of love is something that we can't even fully grasp or understand because, me personally, I believe, well, I truly believe that the power that Jesus Christ possessed was the power of love, that he was able to manifest miracles through the power of love. So again, I share that to say that, everything that I'm sharing with you is of value, and, that I have seen evidence of these things in my life. So that is why I share the stories with you that I do. We learn from one another's experiences. And, I could sit here and I could tell you something over and over and over again, but, by showing you through example, through my own experiences, you are able to understand that, what I'm sharing with you is real. It's true. It's, and I see evidence of it in my life, and that's why I'm sharing. So I think next week for our next Love Talk segment, we should dive into forgiveness, because believe it or not, and like whether you're aware of it or not, we all have so much in our hearts to heal. In order to open the door of this energy, this power that I'm speaking of, we have to clear all the blocks and the things that are in our way to actually activate that power in our lives. So forgiveness is a huge piece of that healing. So I don't want to go too much into forgiveness, because, we're really going to dive into that subject next week. But, and then we'll get into talking about love in relationships, because there are many forms of love. There's like unconditional love, there's romantic love, like there's so many loves, love of self, love of God, love of one another. Like, we will dive into all of that and really get into talking about romantic love, which is what I think so many of us are truly interested in, and wanting to heal our relationships and all of those things. But again, I think laying the foundation and understanding the power and the value of love in your life is really important to understand. And as you begin to focus on this and really, devote your time and attention to healing your heart, to allowing yourself to be open, that you will see these things start to happen in your lives, because we are all so guarded. Like, we've been through so many things in life, being betrayed by friends, being hurt in relationships. Like, we've all been through so many things, and we don't even realize that we are guarding our hearts. It's something that we naturally do, but in healing our hearts and truly opening our hearts, magic happens in our lives. So it is truly of value and importance to do the work, to do the healing, to do the forgiveness work, and all of the things, again, to open your heart and begin to manifest, the things that you are wanting in your life. I'm going to take a quick look to see if there are any questions here. As always, what I share with you guys, if you have any questions about anything that I'm sharing, you're more than welcome to, put your questions in comments, or you can direct message me and I will absolutely respond to your comments. I'm happy to share anything that I have learned. And, as I've said in previous segments, the reason that I'm doing all of this, like, when I look out in the world and everything that is happening, like, it's truly heartbreaking. And I see so clearly, like, if we all heal our hearts and, begin to, like, love may seem like a far stretch, but it's an individual responsibility that if we, each of us make a commitment to work on healing our hearts and showing up each and every day as the best version of ourselves in the world, that we are individually doing our part to create a better world. And that's truly all that any of us can do. So I'm sharing what I've learned, what is working in my life, what is, making things happen. And I want that for everyone. Like, I want to see everyone happy and fulfilled and, living their best life. And it's possible. Like, God does not have favorites. Like, there's so many things that we have been mistaught. And it's time for us to really understand the gift. Like love is a beautiful, powerful gift that is available to all of us. So each week, as we do these segments, like there's so much that I want to share, so much that I have to share. And I'm like just making a list as different ideas are coming to mind. But, as we're good, it's just sort of like going to be a building process where each week the segment is going to build on the previous segment. And it's just, it's all going. And what I was trying to say is that you'll have like the week in between to, really contemplate the ideas and the concepts that I'm sharing with you. Like to kind of, self-reflect and see how you can begin to implement these things in your life. And then the next week, we'll continue. So that's pretty much what I have to share this week on the power of love, which is, as I just said, the greatest gift of all. It truly is. Love is a powerful source. I actually call it my superpower, but it's not my superpower. Like love is a superpower that we all possess, and it resides in our hearts, and we can all tap into that and use that power in our lives. But as I said, there's so much that we have to heal to get into that. So, I'm still healing. We're all healing. Like, whether you realize it or not, we all have so much to heal because we've been through so much. And I don't know why life is that way, but we learn through those experiences, but we have to heal them in order to, tap into the gift that we have. So next week, we're going to dive into forgiveness. And as I said, we are absolutely going to get into our segments of talking about love in relationships. We'll be talking about love in many forms. And we'll just, continue to build and heal and grow together. So I thought to end this segment that I would actually share the poem that I wrote for Prince. I debated if I wanted to share the poem that I wrote for India or the poem that I wrote for Prince, but I'm going to share that one because they're actually the first poem that I wrote about the Holy Saint, the experience when I saw the sculpture. They have deemed the poem to be sacred, and it's going to be unveiled at the grand opening of the shrine. So please pray for Corona to go away so that I can get to India for the unveiling. It was originally scheduled to happen later this year, like sometime in the fall, but I don't know, but I will certainly keep you guys posted, of course, when that happens. But I'm going to share with you, as I said, the poem that I wrote for Prince. It's titled Purple Rain, Reign. So sort of a play on the song Purple Rain. And this poem is so appropriate, not only because of the story that I shared today, but also because of everything that is happening in the world right now. It has a really beautiful message. So this is Purple Rain, and I hope you all enjoy it. Dear beloved, we gather here with hand to heart in homage to your purple rain. Our hearts shattered, broken pieces scattered in our midst. We gather the pieces and assemble your symbol of love. The music plays on as we go on in this mystical dream called life. We honor existence by truly living in every moment. The reel of time is spinning, frame by frame, collecting the moments. A slow and steady churn captures every act. A prince appears in frame. His life plays out in song, revealing a purple heart. We honor the man. The music continues, notes streaming like purple raindrops falling from the sky. The head of the notes hang low, their stems wilted, flags at half staff. Life is a musical mystery. We're all dancing in every scene. Can we rewind the frames, change the key, and sing in tune together? As we dance on and remember, we are here to love. Love keeps singing. Its voice cannot be silenced. Note by note, bar by bar, frame by frame, love breathes our sorrows and pain while standing in the purple rain, singing songs of hope, desiring to live and thrive in the hearts of mankind. May we stand as one, live together, and love one another, attuned to the good of all, lest we never forget we are all connected, one divine symphony creating the never-ending story. Once upon a time, there lived a prince who played in the key of love, a life devoted to song. Let our hearts be moved, uplifted by the joyful noise of his devotion. As he fades from frame, never from our hearts, we unite as one. Alas, in the dream, the final curtain falls, a standing ovation, thunderous applause, an ode to his purple majesty, a sweet farewell to the heart and soul of Prince. So thank you guys so much for joining me this week on this segment of Love Talks. I look forward to sharing with all of you again next week. I wore my hearts today, which I thought would be so appropriate for this segment. And if anybody's wondering, no, it's not real, but it is appropriate and I love it. So thank you guys again, as I said, and next week we'll dive into forgiveness and how that's going to play in our lives in our healing journeys. So, take a little time to contemplate what we've shared today. And if you have any questions, please share those. If you missed the first two segments, you can find them either on my Facebook page here or also on my website, somethingaboutlove.foundation.org. I did share last week, and for anyone who's here who may have missed that, my book, Something About Love, which I'm doing as a, what's the right word, like a charitable type of deal, where for every book that is purchased, I actually gift my books to someone in a group home, a shelter, or rehabilitation centers, our brothers and sisters who are incarcerated. So through your purchase of the book, I'm able to help more people. So again, I thank you guys so much for your time. Feel free to message me if you have any questions. And I wish you all a wonderful week this week, full of love and happiness. Please take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week. Blessings.